What is up, Flockers? That is my fellow lockers and aspiring lockers. If you've ever wondered what the difference between budding and bunching is, or you're just wondering what either of them are, then go ahead and stick around because I'm going to explain that in this video. In the lock world, there are so many terms that are thrown around, and if you're already a part of the lock world or you've done a ton of research, then maybe you're already aware of what these terms mean. Maybe you've experienced these terms yourself. But if you're new to the lock game, or you're thinking about getting into the lock game, then there are a lot of terms that you may hear from different people who are publishing content that you're like, what does that even mean? What is that? So I'm going to go ahead and break those two things down today. Like I said, there's budding and there's bunching. One is a good thing, one is a bad thing. One is a thing that helps your locks mature and progress. One is a thing that could set you back and mess up your lock journey or impede it. So I want to get into those things today. And we are going to start out with the good, because who doesn't want to start out with a little bit of good? So we will start with budding with a D. Budding. When your locks bud, this is a good thing. Now, I don't know the exact origin of it and why they chose bud, but I would assume that it has some correlation or association with flowers, or at least that's what I'm going to associate it with. So if that's not what it is, that's what it is today for y'all. But when you think of buds on a flower, you think of the little, before it turns into a flower and it blooms, it's this little, like, here's your stem and you have this bud on it, and it's going to open up and turn into a beautiful thing eventually. But it starts out as that little stump or that little bump or whatever. And in the same sense with your locks, a bud is the same thing. You have your lock and you have, your lock is like the stem, and then on that stem, you may have budding, or you will have budding on a healthy lock journey. And on any lock journey, you're going to have budding. There's no way to get around it. Okay. So here we have a little budding on the end of this one, and you see it's a chunkier part. It's that bud on the stem where it's gotten bigger, it's gotten longer, gotten fatter, thicker. And in the same sense, just like with the flower, it will eventually bloom and turn into something beautiful. Well, in the sense with locks, it's going to mature and it's going to first expand some more and then condense into the size that it's going to stay. So that's what the budding process is. Okay, and like you see, sometimes people will refer to budding of locks like looking like your locks are pregnant, right? Because you'll be skinny, and then all of a sudden you'll have this baby bump or whatnot in your lock. All right, and the thing with budding is that it can happen at any point or any part of your lock. So it's not like it always is consistent. You're not always going to have budding on the end or wherever. You can have budding at any point. You could have budding up at the top of your lock. You could have it in the middle, or you could have it at the end. All right, here's another one. You see, we got a pregnant bump where the lock is pretty solid all the way down, and then you get to this one part and it's like boom, and it's got this bump. All right, so again, this is a good thing. This is my lock maturing. Okay, we can see the lock is maturing so that it can turn into a formed, healthy, full, mature lock. And the thing with budding is that it's something that happens naturally. It's something that happens over time, depending on the person and all the different factors that can affect your locks, between your texture, the maintenance, the method that you use to start your lock, the climate that you're in. There's so many different things that can affect how your locks mature, the products that you use, the water in the area that you live in. But all of those things, eventually time will lead you to budding, and it's something good and something natural, like I said, that happens in every lock journey, and it's part of the process. This is something that you want. This means that your locks are flourishing and they're changing from the state that they were in to the next stage or the metamorphosis of what they're going to be. And the good thing with budding is that because it's natural, because it's part of the journey, it's something that you don't have to worry about and nothing that you have to do anything about. You don't have to try and fix it. You don't have to perform any maintenance on it. You just need to let it alone and let God, let it do what it's going to do, leave it alone, and it will change and turn and bud and form into the thing that it's supposed to. So like I said, that's a great thing because you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do anything to it. So if you've got budding, you're on the right path. Your locks are doing what they're supposed to do. You're good to go. Now on the flip side of this, we also have a thing called bunching. And this is something that nobody wants in their lock journey, whether you have traditional locks, whether you have Microlocs, whether you have something between Sisterlocks, it doesn't matter what type of lock you have. No one in the lock community wants bunching, because this is the opposite of budding, where your locks are flourishing and maturing properly. Bunching is where your locks are tangling and they are clumping in a way that they're not supposed to, and bunching left alone never leads to a healthy, properly formed lock. Bunching is something that does need maintenance and does need attention. I would say 9 times out of 10. Maybe there are cases where if you leave bunching alone, it'll fix itself. But I feel like 9.9 times out of 10, if bunching is left alone, you're going to end up with a lock that is shorter than other locks, a lock that is much fatter, lumpier, deformed, zigzag, or whatnot. You know, with the budding, it doesn't change the length of my lock. It just swells in the area that it swells, and then it condenses eventually. With bunching, it's the opposite, because it's like your hairs are being pulled up, and instead of it staying the same length, now you may have, like I said, a lock that's like this, where it's crinkled up and whatnot, because it's causing these knots and these tangles in a sense where it's hard to, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but you know, like when you have a piece of like a garment or a piece of clothing where a string will come out, that's a perfect, there we go, come on analogy. All right, so whether it's a t-shirt or a dress or socks or whatever, and you have that string or that piece that'll come out, and then everybody says you just need to cut it. And I'm not saying to cut your locks, but I'm just saying go with me on this analogy. Stick with me, okay, before you come for me. All right, and you know, everyone says don't try to pull it, because if you pull it, it's just gonna mess it up. So okay, you know, if you pull the little elastic thing in your socks, how it causes it to like shrivel up, and then you gotta pull it apart to get it to be a normal sock again. Or same thing if you're talking about a dress or a t-shirt or anything like that. If you have frays that come off and you pull it, it just messes it up and makes it worse, and a lot of times it causes it to bunch up. That's literally what's happening with your hair. When it bunches, it's doing things and it's not keeping its elongated form. It's shriveling up in a way that it's not supposed to. And again, if you leave it alone and leave it like that, it's probably not going to lead to anything good. So maintenance does need to happen, whether it's by a professional or whether you're able to do the maintenance yourself. But it does have to be addressed and fixed, so that way your lock can go back to the length that it's supposed to be, and that it can be fixed properly and grow the way that it's supposed to without it being bunched up and all matted in a weird kind of funky pulled the elastic thing from my sock kind of way. Nobody wants a crinkly sock lock. Ooh, I like that, a crinkly sock lock. Unless you're doing a braid out or a twist out, you don't want no crinkly sock locks. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and click that like button so I know what type of content you're enjoying, and also hit the subscribe button so that you can join the flock. And before you go anywhere, check out some of the other videos that have popped up on the screen. I'll see you there.